this has a spicy move in here. Let's flip the board for him. All right, castles is definitely the same move. Right. Vishnu, I'm glad you were here. I thought for a second you would be watching this. You'd be watching this on the replay. Here we go. By the way, c6 is a strange move. And I don't believe in the London, but if there was ever a time to transfer to the London, it's now, right, with bishop f4. Because the only point of c6 is preparing for c4, right? That's the only reason you'd do that to yourself. That's my 2 cents there. So now we're going to transpose some more normalish stuff. And this variation has been popular since I was a kid. And many of you might have seen the game of Ding Liren against Fabi, was also this variation. And this is some interesting stuff. Let's start here. I don't know that much about this position or anything, but I felt here that white should be better because the bishop on g6 is poor. I talked about some games that was the theme of space last month, and I put together a little video on YouTube that's called Space. You can watch that on our YouTube channel, where I talked about that game, this same variation, some similarities to this thing, and yeah, it's a very interesting position where black does have to play energetically to get something out of it. And let's say the obvious is that the only reason that black can dream of survival here is because the knight on c3 is terrible. Now, like a lot of positions that we've seen today, the bishop on e3 is white's main dude, right? So let's look at how it goes. e5. Garrett's playing international master, and even though I don't like his next move, he proves his worth. He proves his worth later in the game. Okay. So this is an interesting moment. I haven't turned on any engines or anything here, but my guess is, well, just my intuition is that d5 feels very wrong to me. Right, because black wants to play bishop c5 anyway. And so my sense, and I don't know, was just that white's chance would have been de, and then we're going to get a whole interesting position, and I assume that black's intention was bishop c5 here, and interesting position develops. I think black is probably fine, but I just feel like that's what white should have done. And after d5, I definitely feel that the natural bishop c5 is what black should do. Now Garrett gives that a exclam, but to me that's just the move. You want to get rid of that beast on e3, and you're going to do it with development. Let's look at the variation. I assume this is what he's afraid of. Now, notice, one key thing of, let's call it chess wisdom here, is that under no circumstances should you be telling yourself that the pawn on c6 is weak. No, that pawn is genius. It's blocking the knight on c3 in a magnificent way. Queen d6. And in general, I think my only words of advice to Garrett is, if you see this position in your mind's eye, just don't worry about it, because your development is so awesome here. And the variation you gave was good, rook d8, and yeah, your pieces are so active here, and you write here that black has good compensation. I'd much rather be black here, much rather. And it's hard for me to actually imagine that it's only like compensation for the pawn. It feels like more than that to me. Maybe black could have improved. Anyways, right, there's only one move that Garrett needs to whip himself for, and that's queen b4. And it's not Stockfish saying it's an accuracy, it's me saying you're losing time. Okay, so now check this out. Snip, castles. Rook d8. Bam! Oh, lordy. Oh, lordy. Oh, what a great move. I think it's a great move. Let me say a little bit more than what Garrett says. To me, it's so nice because what it's going to do is, black just needs a couple moves, and then he will have enough time to get his pieces organized. And at some point, right, he needs time to move this, castle, play f6, rehabilitate this person, right? And white, on the other hand, needs a good place for his bishop on f1. It's not immediately clear where it should go. The knight also needs some drama. Okay, so check it out. Bam! Bam! Oh, man. And, right, Garrett talks about bishop c5. And, well, let's go into that variation. And we have some chances of survival. But one of the main problems here is that the white knight is about getting ready to do something, right? So if you play f5 or castles, we're going to play knight takes b5. And that's one of the hidden points of bishop b5, was that suddenly this knight, which is in the Slav, usually like white's problem piece, gets to be alive. In fact, he gave this variation. Bam. Very nice. Okay. So, all right. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. I think that's Kostya writing in on the ChessDojo live account, which is cool. Glad to have him here. So, let's see how it happened. Queen e7. And, of course, your position's bad. And you're right to be critical of this, even though the guy played a brilliant move, because now it's starting to look like Morphy versus the Evil Duke, where, your king is slammed up against the sweaty thighs of your friends on bishop f8 and the rook on h8, just like that game, right? And the knight gets to live, and I guess we're going to say this is probably toast. Check. Can't move the knight, unfortunately. You can't castle. You can't really move the knight. So you give it up, and I guess the game's over. We'll run through this here. Beautiful play. Really like the way this guy played this game. Man, just evil. Taking all of Garrett's stuff. Man. There are probably easier ways of doing it, but there it is. Okay, yeah, really beautiful move. And, one thing is if you submit a game here where, you got nailed and you want to talk about it, that is probably the best use of your time. And so, and beautiful, also beautiful for sharing somebody else's brilliancy there. And notice, you think about beating an IM like this, and when the position's so volatile, like it was over here, it's really just one move. A lot of times, let's say the game we started with, right, with Cam's game against John Donaldson, there's going to be a lot of mistakes on both sides, inaccuracies, let's call them. When the position is violent, right, once we get this, say, d5, or this position here, with this kind of violence, it's going to be maybe one mistake. Right, and especially against somebody who's dangerous and capable of finding a move like bishop b5. There we go. There we go. Yeah.